Hey everyone, this is My Project Hell, and I'm Kelly Schockler. And for the next 20 minutes, we're not going to play that music. We're going to do our part to offer you some sensible solutions for some of those aggravating project problems that we all run into at some point. And Paul and I are going to keep it down to earth and real for you.
And I'm Paul Thompson. And in this episode, we're going to discuss a hot topic, and we're going to work with a project manager in Coach's Corner to see if we can't help her out of her project hell. Now, this is as interactive as, remote can be. So we encourage everybody to participate in the conversation, right? Use the chat session and share your thoughts and ideas with everyone as we go through the episode. Now, if you have questions specifically for Kelly or I, please put those in the Q&A. And if we have time at the end, we'll try to get to one or two of them. Kelly, now that we got everyone on the edge of their seats, why don't you reveal our hot topic?
My pleasure, because this one makes me upset. Our hot topic for this episode is Big Brother is watching. And this hot topic, I think, is one that became a little bit more controversial this past year as remote working became the norm. And we saw some companies getting triggered and becoming more like Big Brother by ramping up their employee surveillance as remote working became more necessary, right? And they felt like they needed more oversight for those remote workers that are away from the office. And some started using more invasive software, keystroke counters, always on webcams, etc. So I'm going to pick on Microsoft for this one. Some of you might have recalled that back in November of 2020, that Microsoft came up with this brilliant idea of using a productivity score based on individual movements in 365 teams. And it essentially allows managers to use 365 to track employees' activities at an individual level. But Microsoft's not presenting it that way. They're touting its ability to, quote, get insights into digital transformation with a Microsoft productivity score, provide visibility into where the organization is in their digital transformation journey, get insights that help identify and enable improved experience so the organization can reach its goals, et cetera, et cetera. So by default, though, the manager can use a reporting feature to drill down on individual employees and find out who's participating less in the chat group chats, who's sending fewer emails, who's failing to collaborate or share documents. So this really goes back to that lack of trust in workers who aren't in the line of sight but in seat. And like a lot of things, this starts with something small like a productivity score, and before you know it, it's normalized. And then maybe you're only getting paid for how many keystrokes you've got or camera time, or how great you are at maybe finding stuff buried in Teams. So, Paul, what are your thoughts on this idea?
Well, I think on this one, you and I are probably on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Awesome.
Not surprising, right? So absolutely be prepared that most productivity tools, collaboration tools, and almost any software that starts being built today going forward is going to have a way of tracking users, tracking their activity, and trying to make sense of that work and that productivity term presented back to managers, right? It's just going to be a fact of life. And so as users of the system, and that we just need to be accepting that these things are going to be happening. We give away all of our information to Apple. We never read the EULA. Same thing with Facebook, right? And it's sort of, a catch-22. For some reason, there is some angst when it's around our job. So many people give it away to Facebook, Google, Apple. But for my manager to see me and know what I'm doing, that seems wrong. That's invasive. And I get it. It's our money, right? It's our salary, our hourly wage. But we need to start thinking in terms of everything we do online regardless of whether it's at work or out in the wild, is tracked. Privacy is pretty well dead. So think about it that way.
So you're saying we have to accept it. So most of this stuff isn't even legal in the EU. So, and just in my humble opinion, I think being under a constant surveillance like that is sort of like a workplace psychological abuse, because it's always there, right? But I mean, really, Paul, if you're productive, you've got results showing, are you delivering your work? You're doing what you need to do in your role, you're where you're supposed to be, and your customers are happy. Isn't that a good evidence for how productive you are? I mean, I don't need my manager to be worrying if I ran to throw a load of laundry in, right?
I completely agree, right? You and I are absolutely in agreement when it comes to what matters is results, right? A lot of jobs, though, it's difficult to measure results, right? You talk to help desk or to customer service, and they get measured on length of call and how many calls they put through, as opposed to, was the customer satisfied, which is really the only measure if it's a customer service, right? Did your customer walk away going, yeah, I'll buy another one of their widgets, but if you can't do that, so it's a tough thing, but you're right. Results are the only thing that should count. It's just not the way it always is. So I think, you can look at it going forward, be aware, know what's being measured and play the game, or accept it. And regardless, Kelly and I are going to suggest work to make sure you get your results in.
Exactly.
All right. Well, see, we weren't that far off.
No,
we were pretty close.
had a little spice there. That's good.
All right, Katie, I think we're looking for Ellen to join us.
Yep, Ellen's there.
There's Ellen. How are you doing, Ellen?
How are you?
Hi, Ellen.
Thanks for having me.
I am awesome. I am so glad that you joined us. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you taking my question.
Well, help us understand the situation, right? Give us a little background of what's going on and how Kelly and I can offer some insights.
Sure. I think in a nutshell, my question is about how to navigate politics in a world where you're a PM and no one's asking you to drive the whole bus. I know that's a scenario we touch on often on these webcasts of what is your actual sphere of influence and what can you do about it? My specific situation that I'm working with now is that my company has recently committed to a massive software replacement project. And this particular software is going to be central to not only everything that we deliver in our business, but also the center of our IT stack. Everything bolts onto this thing. So this project is bigger than a bread box, for sure. And so far, all of the advertising, so to speak, about this at the leadership level to the org, everything's got a go live date on it, which is fascinating to me. How are we already talking about a go live date when nobody that's on the project team even understands what the work is yet? We haven't got that far internally. So how is there a go live date already out there? That go live date is super aggressive also. So that's
of course
creating some pain for those of us that know a thing or two about this software and what it means in terms of the change, the technical change, as well as the real world implications of replacing this tool that drives so much of our business. That's a quick date. And there are things that we're all naturally inclined in our PMO, myself and my colleagues, are wanting to do those things that we know set any project up for success. I'll get into the strategy. What are our guiding principles? What does success look like? Who are the leaders that get to weigh in on this thing? And who are the ones that are going to be informed about what this thing is doing? All of that stuff matters so that we don't get ourselves tangled. None of those conversations are happening. Every time any of us have asked for it, we're told, hey, stay in your lane. We're not there yet. stay in your lane is a quote, which I think is triggering for me personally. And that's another type of session. I'll pay you for that one. That's therapy.
It's the side of don't worry your pretty little head about it.
Right. Go ahead and reach through the screen and pat me on the head if we're going to go there. Exactly. So I can put that piece aside, but really I think what we're being told is that's a level of politics that you guys don't belong in. And I do worry about that piece because at some point we will be asked to engage in tactics. And if we don't have some sort of common ground on strategy, we all will fail. Mm-hmm. And my question for you specifically is how do we continue to sort of advocate effectively for there are building blocks, they do come in a certain order without, number one, wearing out our welcome at the big kids table. And number two, without maybe, how do we trust that there maybe is something bigger at play that maybe we're not being informed about yet? Is there a good way to shut off that natural tendency to try to work the problem before it's been presented to us?
Sure. This is an awesome opportunity.
Oh boy.
Let me ask you a few questions.
Yeah.
Help me understand some of the things that you're thinking about doing. I mean, just give me some, you've got experience. So what approach were you looking to take with some of this that we can build on?
Sure. I mean, at some point, I think we all are aware that there will be some sort of work stream mechanism set up where we chunk out the work into, for this group of users, there will be this body of work around the discovery, this body of work around design, build, test, ship. The ship date is already known. The rest of it is not. And somewhere in those early steps, we will naturally all venture into that same kind of change trauma. What does this mean? Are we changing our business, or are we just changing our tools? Are we changing our workflow? Are we changing our jobs? Like bringing these stakeholders through that change needs some level of system around it.
Okay.
So for me, I'm looking for like, can we go ahead and define that system? Like, we don't have to meet with any stakeholders for that. That's internal work. Right. Can we set some ground rules with whoever's driving this bus that we're on? And, start that piece at least. And that's the piece that it's just like, whoa, cart before the horse, slow it down, sister. We're doing contracting, and we're doing, third-party application scoping. Like how did we get there? And we don't even know what the backbone is. We're talking about the little finger, right?
But you have a date, so we're good.
Right. Yeah. And we're on track too, I'm told. So that's fun.
Okay.
So I'm befuddled. I guess if your question is what should my move be, or what's the move I'm trying to make? It's to rally for strategy, something. And that's the piece that I can't seem to get purchase on. And I'm not the only one. This isn't Ellen's the only one asking for this. All the PMs are looking for who is guiding us. Should I be guiding us? Is someone else going to do that? Should I just truly stand down, or are we going to get looped in at a point where they're assuming we did that already?
All right. So is this the hill to die on? And are you the one that?
Did
we just lost Paul?
We lost Paul. All right, well then,
he's back. He's back.
I'm going to jump in then. Thank you for being here, Ellen, and asking this question. I would imagine maybe the first thing you want to do is run up to the CIO's door and not knock on it, and like a robot from Lost in Space, warning, warning, do you know what's going to happen here? This is lunacy, right? Which is usually a great way to just be shown the front door out of the company. But I mean, what's your relationship like with the leaders? Do you have any relationship with the leaders, decision makers, where you might be able to share some concerns?
I do. Yeah. And we all do. Again, when you're hearing I think there's a bunch of us on the team, and we're all at about the same level of seniority across our PM team.
Okay.
The least experienced of us has about 10 years of background. So none of us are rookies. At least half of us have been through this exact transition before. We actually know what
you're talking about. And it doesn't seem like you're one to sit back and get the bucket of popcorn and watch everything implode around you. You seem like you might be let's take up the cause and rally kind of person. Is that fair?
If there's work to be done, we should be doing the work, not watching the work, not observing the work, not wondering what the
Yeah.
work is. We should get in there and make it happen.
Well, and it also sounds like you and your teammates are concerned about the short timeline. And I love what you said, change trauma, impacting the whole entire ecosystem and those really their treasured, precious end users and customers, really. Right. And so this is just kind of a bold statement here, but I think if you've got the courage and the will and boldness to offer that insight based on your experience and the few others around you in the PMO who also have insight and experience with this exact thing and they want to join you, what about coming together and outlining your top concerns and, really tightly, not a bunch of concerns, the top one or two, and then the impacts of what you've seen trying to implement this humongous system in a short time frame is going to do. I mean, focusing on the impacts to the customers, the end users, and based on your collective experience, not based on hearsay. Like, I heard over there when they did this, and tried to do it,
Exactly.
that this happened. It's based on your actual experience. And then offer up a couple ideas on what might work, again, based on your experience with implementing this system in other places. I mean, you could use that SBAR format, maybe, the situation background assessment recommendation, right? Clear, concise, and then the leadership whom you have these good relationships with, and you have entree into sharing with them. Those are the people who respect you and your contributions, right? But I think one more thing I just want to say is make sure you talk to your PMO director about this before you do anything like that, so they're not blindsided and they know what you're thinking about doing.
Right. Yeah, thanks. I think we're all worried that we've been told enough times now to stay in our lane that any of us that takes that bold step that you're describing, that's not out of whack with what any of us have proposed to each other, just to float it out there. Are we going rogue, right? Which is what no org needs, is your PMO suddenly, freaking out.
I think there's a way to do it though, that's not going rogue, and it's simply coming from the intention of, hey, have you considered this? And we know you said stay in our lane, and you know your organization best, and maybe that won't work. That's just something I thought of.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm back.
You are back.
Outstanding. So when it comes to politics, I kind of have two sayings that I live by. One is follow the money, right? And you got to know, right? Why are people saying this? Follow the money. Who's setting dates? Why are there, senior board of directors bonuses tied to this thing, right? Understand how big this gnarly hairball is, right? And how it got wrapped up. Usually following the money will get you there. The other side of it, though, that I like to use is walk a mile in their shoes, right? So put on the people you want to influence, right? The senior execs, wherever that is in your organization. Look at it from their perspective and provide them with the SBAR information that Kelly talked about at their level and in terms that motivate them, right? Because as project managers, we're down in the weeds and we see everything, right? VPs, they got one item here that says, major collapse of financial institution. That's what they care about. So we kind of got to find out what it is. And if you walk a mile in their shoes and you wear them and you speak to it in their language, that will significantly help just from the getting them to pay attention, right? Because they're not going to pay attention to the 27 other things, and you don't want to be the Chicken Little, right? That's a concern.
That's a deadly place for all of us.
Yeah.
If we're the only ones going, this will never work, we're all out the door.
Right.
We don't want that. We want it to succeed. This is the right move for the company.
Yes. The other thing that can help, because you're right, you get told, stay in your lane, don't worry your pretty little head, all those good things. We refer to it as running your paper route. Instead of kind of attacking this at a group level, build your coalition, right? Start with your PMO, as Kelly said, right? Get them on board with your SBAR, your 2 or 3 points that are salient, right? These things will make the difference between, in the end, you guys being able to reach the financial goals you're after or not. And then once you've got the PMO, maybe take it to the next leader that you want on board. Because each time you do this one-on-one, you can get their input and go, okay, yeah, I should add that to this SBAR and really make it. So before you're done, everybody thinks they wrote your SBAR and they're ready to go. Why don't we have the PMO doing some of this stuff? It's not costing us anything, and you guys do your thing. I'm going to let my PMO do the things that I know they do. Just some ideas.
Yeah, no, this is the gold I needed from both of you. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, and if you take anything away today, trust yourself. Do what you think seems right in this moment, and then go make your popcorn. Sit back, watch the highly paid consultants figure it out, because things will implode at some level, right? It's just how much. And eventually the wake-up call come that maybe they can't implement everything in this time frame that they thought, and that's just the way it is. But we hope that these were helpful pieces of advice for you.
Yeah, very actionable. This is what I needed, was what's the one thing I can direct some energy towards and get some of my team. We're all starting to swirl in the same way, and it's about to be unproductive. So thank you for helping to redirect some of that energy to the right activities.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear down the road what happens. You can just drop us an email at our myprojecthell@gmail address. We would love that. Thank you. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me today. Thank
you, Ellen.
All right, so we're 21 after, Paul. This always happens. But it's good.
All right. We do want to get to questions. So if you guys did have any questions that we aren't able to get to, schedule some time for Kelly or I off of our website, My Project Hell. You can grab 30 minutes and get some free consultation on any questions you might have specifically. Or, join us next week and see if we can get them in then. But this time we got to wrap up My Project Hell. Kelly and I had a great time. At least we always do. You can catch the repeats on My Project Hell on YouTube, or you can always check out our website. And like I said, you can grab information off of there, schedule your free 30-minute consultation, and get your questions answered.
And we hope you'll join us next time. We're going to talk about It's a Small World After All in our hot topic. And then when you close out your browser with Zoom, there's going to be a survey that pops up. We'd love it if you gave us your 2 cents. It's very helpful to help us improve what we're doing here on My Project Hell. Thanks for being here today, and we'll see you next time.
That's right. Help us, help you, help us.
Bye, everyone.
Have fun.